everyone, and welcome to the Music Spotlight. I am your host, Guido Perino, and we are going out and about on a musical nature adventure while avoiding the caribou but embracing the blonde viper. What am I talking about? I'm welcoming to the show TV host, actress, model, producer, writer, singer, and composer, Terri Lawrenz. Terri, thank you for joining me. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing terrible. Just awful. I'm just kidding. I'm doing great. Thank you.
I was gonna say,
Does
I know.
anybody ever say they're doing bad?
Well, you never know. I dragged you here on a Friday night, so right?
No, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Okay, good. I am too. And I do. I feel very special because we are recording this on a Friday night. And while it's not, I don't normally do this on a Friday night myself, but as our schedules kind of worked out this way, this is where we landed. And now that I have you here, I'm thinking, what other cool thing would you really be doing if you weren't here doing this cool thing with me?
Well, on a Friday night, my typical Friday night, I would say the most exciting thing I would do would be like go out for supper. And do you say supper or do I have to say dinner?
It could be either. I'm good.
Well, we call it supper here. So go out for supper, aka dinner, and maybe come back home and Netflix and chill. I'm kind of boring.
Wow. What, do you have a favorite supper place?
No, not really. For Julie's, I guess, is kind of one of our favorites. It's a pasta place. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
No. Did you say Fazoli's?
For Julie's.
Fazoli's.
Yeah,
Obviously, it must be like all Italian then, right?
it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's
Is
delicious.
that your favorite Italian food?
I mean, like, obviously, American is probably my first choice, but Italian's probably my second.
Right on. I cook a lot of Italian with a
Do you?
name like Guido.
True.
Look, talking
I
about
do too, with a name like Terry.
talking about other cool things. You're from Redwood Falls, Minnesota. What's the cool
Yeah.
thing to do in Redwood?
Okay, well, first of all, you need to understand that Redwood Falls is the county seat. It's the biggest seat or the biggest town in Redwood County at 5,000 people. So there's not a lot to do, but we can boast that we have Minnesota's largest municipal park. It's called Ramsey Park, and it's just a big park. There's a zoo, there's hiking trails, there's a waterfall, there's camping, and it's just there's a lot of things to do there, and it's just beautiful. It's like and right in town. So that's kind of our treasure.
Is it the place to go? Like, will people come from out of town to kind of check it out?
Oh yeah, 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 they do. Yeah.
So what do you have like you said 5,000 people. Do you have like little motels all over the place for folks or
Yeah, there are little motels. Yep.
right on?
And a Walmart. That's that's
That's
about
gotta
the
have
extent of it.
a Walmart. No, so not wait, I'm curious. Has it always had a Walmart or was it like, hey, we're gonna get a Walmart? Because I remember like up in the Sioux for a long time where I'm from, it's just not quite 5,000, it was about 75,000, but everybody was kind of like, oh, I wish we had a Walmart. And we would go to the Sioux, Michigan, because we're Twin Cities. Everybody would go to Sioux, Michigan to the Walmart there. Like, oh yeah, I finally went to Walmart over there. So like, was it a big thing when it came?
It was. Boy, I mean, I'm a bad judge of time, so I don't remember exactly what year. I do remember when it opened. So it's been since, I've been alive. um, yeah, I don't know for sure when it opened. It was back before there was such a thing as the super Walmarts. So it was much smaller. And then when super Walmarts kind of took over, then they did add on a big addition to it. So it's a fairly good sized Walmart now.
How did we end up here? How did we end up talking about Walmart? What have I done?
I'm sorry.
What have I done? Look, let's go back. The intro that I did, there's several references to the shows that you've been host of or help produce, as well as other media and entertainment things that you do. Um, and I listed the long things of what you do. What is the event that got you in that direction or focused in that direction?
Boy, I mean, it was really fate. I had no intention to get into any of what I do now, music, television, none of that. It sort of just happened. I was at a point in my life where I was a stay-at-home mom, And I just wanted to get out of the house a few hours a week and do something. So in the newspaper, there was an ad for a health and beauty product promoter, which I answered, and it ended up being a talent agency that placed the ad. And long story short, I ended up taking classes with them, signed on with them, and that got me my first gig, which just rolled around and kept on turning to additional projects. So yeah, it all started just with that ad.
Wow. Like when you did that, were you at all skeptical when you answered that the talent agency portion of it, or?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, because it's like it was so outside of my character to do anything. Like I was so introverted and shy that the last place I could see myself is in front of a camera or in front of people. Like it was life changing. And it's just, yeah,
What
I would have never guessed this.
what we don't know sometimes about ourselves, right? Um,
Exactly.
Look, from a personal influence perspective, you say that your parents and your grandparents are the primary ones in that role. How have they personally influenced you when it comes to your career and life balance?
Well, I think that they had really strong family values. I was really lucky to be raised by both my parents. Um, and my dad passed away a couple of years ago. My mom is still with us. They just had really strong family values, and they instilled the hard work in me, like not being afraid to work. Because back on the farm, you worked hard. Everybody pitched in and did their part, and I think that that's kind of helped me where I'm at too. I've learned to be very flexible, um, and to kind of not be afraid to broaden my horizons, because back on the farm, you never knew what you'd be doing. You could be helping on the pig barn, you could be riding on the bean rider, you could be doing all these different things, feeding animals. So, you kind of learn to do a lot of different things and you kind of teach yourself. And so I think that's kind of where I got my work ethic from and my drive. It's just because I had a really, really strong upbringing.
I'm sorry to hear about your dad, but you just told me you guys you grew up on a farm. You guys had a farm.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Like
Yep.
straw hats and jeans and plaid shirts and that sort of thing.
Not quite, but close.
Was that in Redwood? Like was it in that area?
That was in Redwood County. Yep. Southwest Minnesota. Yeah.
Do you still do any type of farming now yourself or?
No, I don't. But, growing up, my ultimate goal in life, I didn't have big dreams back then. I just wanted to marry a farmer. I just wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and just have this perfect little life, like what I felt like my mom and dad. Just happy little family on the farm. Everybody helps out. You're kind of your own team. And that's sort of what I wanted. That's all I wanted. I didn't marry a farmer, in fact, but maybe I should have.
So and we're gonna talk about music in a little bit here. I know people tuning in. I'm like, is he gonna get to music? We're gonna get to music, but I'm just curious. Growing up on the farm, were you a country music fan?
I have gone through stages in my life. When I was a teenager, I was 80s girl, rock and roll. I was rocking with Dokken and Kiss and Poison, everybody. I was like
Yeah.
total rock and roll. And then as I had children and became a mom, then all of a sudden I switched over to country for a while. But I came back to rock and roll really fast.
You always come back to rock. If you're rock and roll, you always come back to rock and roll. Um, Look, you also say that your mom is your idol, and aside from the fact that moms are cool and it's just a natural thing, what about her made that happen for you?
you know, she had patience like you wouldn't believe. She had 6 kids, and she came from a big family too. So, you just learn how to get along when you have to. So just her patience and kindness. And it's funny because looking back, um, I never heard my mom swear until I was an adult. I never saw her drink alcohol until she was an adult, or until I was an adult, excuse me. So it's just weird to look back now. Of course, I wasn't quite so innocent. But yeah, it's just I really, really envied the fact that she could hold herself together with 6 kids. I don't know if I could have done it.
Yeah, I no, listen, I hear you. I have that. the same type of adoration for my own, you know, strong women. You know, and in that sense, my mom is a bit of you know, an idol for me as well. So, look, professionally, your name is heavily intertwined with Todd Magnuson since about 2005. You end up meeting on the set of a TV commercial. Now, you say that he is your greatest professional influence. You work together on several of the shows that I mentioned in the intro. Now you're in the band together, Blond Viper, that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, in what way is he your greatest professional influence? And when does that light bulb go off that that's what he is?
You know, it's you hear about love at first sight, and for us, I would say it was chemistry at first sight. And I know that sounds really crazy, but looking back to that first TV commercial that his production company had hired me to do, um, I was playing the sexy Santa. Okay, so and Todd was behind the camera at that point, and I remember it was myself and another model. We came out of the bathroom in our little sexy Santa costumes, and I can still, in my mind, I can picture perfectly when he looked up from the camera and he saw me, and when our eyes interlocked. I still can picture that moment, and it was like right then and there the chemistry kicked off. And when I left that set that night, I left a comp card because that's what you do when you're a model. You know, you leave them a comp card so that they can keep you in mind for future projects. So when I left him that comp card, he asked me if I would mind being a guest on his TV show, which was called The Caribou Show. So I'm thinking, ooh, it's a hunting show. And I'm like, I'm not a hunter, you know? So that's what I expected to be getting myself into. But reluctantly, I said, yes, I will do it. And so I did. And the show ended up being a sketch comedy show that was on our NBC affiliate in this area. It was on after Saturday Night Live. And I became a regular member of that comedy troupe then. So that's where it started, that chemistry. And then we just built from there. He'd always have these little wild ideas. He'd be like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And somehow he always made them happen.
Are you an enabler for some of those ideas?
Am I what?
An enabler for some of his ideas?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Most of the ideas come out of his head, but oh yeah, I definitely enable him.
Is it a trust thing that you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot in common. He grew up on a ranch in Harding County, South Dakota, which the population of the whole county is probably less than what Redwood Falls was as a whole. So very, very rural, even more rural than Redwood County. Um, so right off the bat, we had a lot in common because we could relate to this to the small town and the rural life. And we had a lot of same interests. Of course, the TV, kids. We were both doing daycare at one point, which is a really strange fact to think about. And animals. We had all these common denominators. So yeah, it just everything made sense.
Now he lists you as one of his professional influences. How do you think that you've influenced Todd professionally, or what do you think he would say about that?
Well, yeah, I think he would agree that I'm definitely his enabler. And I think that we've kind of given each other the confidence to do it. Like we've supported each other through so much. You know, of course, there's been a tons of up and downs in all of the different projects that we've done. We have been up here and we've been down here. It just all depends. You know, we're up here getting picked up by Sony Disney, and we're down here when COVID strikes, and all of a sudden, you know, we're without work. So we've been there together through all those thick and thins, and that just helps make us stronger, I think.
Now, you talk about the shows. One of your most successful shows together with Todd has been Nature Adventures with Terri and Todd. The show was nominated for an Emmy Award, and you said it got picked up by ABC, Disney, Rural TV, Sony, PBS, several other stations. Before this show with the acting and the modeling and all of that, and now you said, well, hey, I grew up on a farm. Is that where your love of nature started? Do you still have a love of nature after doing these shows?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Um, yeah, when I grew up on the farm, like I had five siblings, but my three sisters were quite a bit older than me, and then I had two brothers, and then it was me. So like my brothers had each other, and I'm hanging around here at the end just being the baby. My sisters are older, so at different phases of their lives. So I'm kind of all by myself. I'm just the baby. So my best friends on the farm were animals. Like, we didn't have all the activities that kids these days can do. Like we didn't even take swimming lessons. We were busy. We helped out on the farm. We were part of the team. Um, so yeah, I mean, animals were my best friends. And
That's
yes, I would prefer to be around animals than people a lot of days.
No, that's interesting. And you add the perspective, the baby of the family. I can relate. I'm the baby of the family. Most of my siblings, they had all already left the house for the most part, and the things that I did were these sort of chore things, that learning how to build things, working in the gardens, like doing sort of things like that. So I get it. Makes complete sense. And so you build this relationship and with nature and animals, and then it kind of translates into something that you end up doing later in your career. You mentioned COVID. An event happens during our pandemic days for yourselves, and I could swear to you, if I had a dime for every conversation I've had with artists or folks in media, or just like I said, artistic folks during the pandemic, the creative juices have begun to flow for folks. And then I think to myself, you know, maybe we're doing things too fast sometimes. Maybe that slowdown of the pandemic made us all reflect and change, and maybe if there's a silver lining in anything, right? It's kind of that, maybe. And I don't want to take anything away because everybody's had different experiences. I get it. But that event involves Todd giving you a call to talk music. Tell us what that initial call goes like.
Well, whenever he brings up a new project, I always think he's crazy. That's always my first reaction. But he called me up and he said that he was digging up some of his old music from when he used to be in an AC/DC tribute band. And he had written some originals back then too. So he decided that he'd pull those out one day and try to redo them. And so he called me up, said, "Hey, do you want to sing background vocals or sing some vocals on this?" I'm like, yeah, what the heck? And I really didn't take him too seriously at that point. So we did it, and I did the background, and we put them together, and he gave me his famous phrase. He's like, all the time, he's always like, "I think we got something here." And that's how everything always starts. I think we got something here. That's how our TV show all started. I think we got something here. And yeah, we did with the music. We really felt like we found another niche that worked for us. So here we are, 4 years later.
Right, and you've been plugging away at that. Now, that call eventually translates into a feature film called Sometimes Yesterday with the band Blond Viper, creating a 12-song soundtrack. The title track, Sometimes Yesterday, ends up winning 5 film festival awards globally for best original song. Plus you've got original score going on for that. How do you how do you find this formula? How does I think we got something here, but how does that translate into a formula that made this happen?
Well, it's a lot of different things. It's a lot of passion. It's a lot of luck, a little bit of talent, maybe. But putting together like all of our passions, the things that we love. So it made perfectly good sense for us to take our music and turn it into something that we could do on screen with our television background. So here during COVID, we got all these music, got these songs put together, and we're like, hey, we got something here. But now what do we do? Like, how do we go about getting it out there? Well, the TV producers in the back of our mind are thinking, well, let's get it on TV. So then we decided we would make like a musical type of a movie where we could feature our music. Since we knew how to get TV, out there. We'd done plenty of that. So music was more new to us and we weren't really sure how to be heard, but we did have success in TV and we knew how to get heard that way. So that's what we did.
And there you go. And so it was born. Now, 3 years and 5 albums later, Blonde Viper is going strong. You just released a new single called Represent. The band is with RFK Media, and of course, the great Ron Keel, right? Shout out to Ron Keel. A few questions to unpack though. Let's start with when do you sign on with RFK Media, and what does that mean to you and the band to be able to do that?
Well, we actually met Ron on a project here locally in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, probably about 7 years ago. And so we kind of stayed in touch with him throughout the years, developed a friendship. And then when we decided to do the Represent project, Eldon, our guitarist, wanted to get Ron involved in it, which was a great idea. So he reached out to Ron, and Ron was like, yeah, I'll do it. And Ron was very, very busy. He had a lot of things going on in his life, his career. So it took a little bit of time for him to get his part done. But then anyway, fast forward to a couple of years later, we have Represent put together, and we've got 12 guitarists and a harmonica and a drummer and 6 vocalists and this huge collaboration put together. We give it to Ron, and Ron is like, yeah, I'm going to pick this up. So he did. He took it under his wing, and yeah, he's kind of helped us a lot with the project.
It's pretty impressive. And a lot of the things we've talked about, whether it's TV, and you said at the beginning, fate, right? But it's
Mhm.
not fate. It's also relationships. It's also patience. It's getting to know folks and it's cultivating, understanding what you're able to bring to something, but also seeing what the others can bring for you that you can work together on. That look, the new single Represent, it was released on September 27th. Tell us a little bit about the song. What does it, forgive me, what does it represent?
If I were to sum it up into one word, I would say that Represent is really about unity, particularly in the music industry, about supporting other musicians, especially on like a local level and our level here. Most of the musicians on the album are from this area. There are some that have taken their careers and gone outside of the area that agreed to come back and share their talents with us back here. But yeah, overall, I would just say unity. That's probably what really sums up what Represent is all about.
Is it hard as a musician to support another musician?
No, I don't think so because like there are so many different, I don't know how really to word it, but everybody is so unique in their own ways that I don't think that there's a place for competition really in the music world, because I think that it's just it everybody's unique. Yeah,
Now,
we have something very unique from any other rock bands. I think that when I Blond Viper things up, it makes us Blond Viper, rather than just a traditional rock band. So no, I don't think so. I mean, if there's a little bit of competition, but probably not. I think it's pretty easy, especially in our area, to support other musicians.
do you think, and you said you grew up a bit of a fan of the 80s, and I'm just curious, do you think it's different today than in the 80s? Do you think it's easier to say and do those things today than it was back then?
It probably is, just because now we have the internet.
Yeah.
Um, And so we have that avenue to be able to get our things out there, whereas in the 80s, they didn't have that. So it probably is a lot easier today than it was back then. But you can't imagine how many times that we've been told, boy, if Blonde Viper was around in the 80s, and we've heard that time and time again, if Blonde Viper was around in the 80s, you guys would have just been killer. So yeah, we're
Well,
a few years too late, but
no,
it's not going to stop.
the thing is, you are a killer. You're absolutely killer. It's a killer band. And I keep seeing, you know, it's really interesting. In from the middle of the pandemic onwards, what I've seen is a resurgence of rock and roll, of that rock and roll sound. It's like a movement happening again, whether it's folks who went away from it for a while because they went off and had kids and did all these other things, and now they have more time and they're getting back into it. But while I say that, there's also the younger generation that's coming in and they're listening to some of the classic stuff and then getting into some of the new rock and roll. So, I'm thinking it's on the upward trend again, right? So, but look, I have a lot of favorite things about different bands and things. What's your favorite thing about this band, Blonde Viper?
I would say just the music itself. Like Todd is such an amazing writer, and Eldon and Rich are just incredible musicians too. Like they're so incredibly talented, and I think that we put out some really killer music. I think just the music itself is definitely my favorite part because I feel like it's so diverse. Like we have such a variety that we do, um, and it's all got it's own, or it's all has its own um, flair to it and its own really awesome things that make it killer.
There's a lot of different things when you listen to a band that are unique and killer, as you say. And, one of the things that really stands out for me is your voice. I think I rewind some songs just to hear some of the like how you're actually delivering some of those vocals. Because I think those are some killer vocals that add some of that uniqueness to Blonde Viper. So I just kind of not to fan out on you a little bit there, but a little bit of admiration for what you're doing with the vocals on that. Um, Look, I've asked you've probably been asked this a few times, and again, so I apologize, but I might get the blonde part of Blonde Viper. I'm thinking you're the blonde in the Blonde Viper. What does the Viper come from? And if you're not the blonde in the Blonde Viper, maybe there's another thing going on.
Well, no, I can't deny it. I'm the blonde behind Blonde Viper. It's interesting because um, blonde, there's always been a stereotype about blondes. Nobody else is known by their hair color. Like, you don't say, oh, gray hair or whatever. No, but blondes are blondes. You're known by your hair color. So it's always Blondie. Everybody's always calling me Blondie my whole life. Blondie, Blondie, Blondie. Um, so of course that came natural that we should be something that was blonde in the title. And the Viper comes from our nature adventure show that we did. With that show, when we started that on PBS, we also did an outreach program where we would go around to fairs, schools, different large scale events, and we would take reptiles. And snakes were our big specialty. And part of our shtick was that we wanted to help people overcome their fears of snakes by dispelling some of the myths about them. Because, I mean, face it, most people are afraid of snakes,
Yeah.
and so we just took the snakes around and we help people overcome their fears by education. So being snake lovers, especially Todd growing up on that ranch in Harding County, he grew up with rattlesnakes and all these snakes, and he always loved them. And he sees something, he'll just pick it up. He wouldn't even think twice. Big bull snake, rattlesnake, whatever. Yeah, he's got to play with it. So we're kind of known for that. So to put together the blonde made perfect sense.
No, it's cool and it's a great logo and stuff. Are you gonna work snakes into the show at all, or?
We get asked that a lot, and I actually wouldn't mind it. It would be kind of fun, to do live and come out with a snake, definitely.
That's wild. Any tattoos that anybody's gotten of Blonde Viper or snakes or no? Nothing?
No, 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 no,
Maybe
I'm tattoo free.
tattoo free. All right. Well, there's still time for Blonde Viper tattoos.
Does that make me a freak? I don't know. It was just one of those things like with the TV and modeling and stuff, it was one of those things that's kind of frowned upon by some clients. So I just never ever did the ink thing because I didn't want it to disqualify from me from any projects that I could do if I had ink.
I never thought of that. Has that changed now over the years? Has that changed? Is it more acceptable?
Yeah, I think it is. But it's still probably not,
Oh,
it's not something they're going to recommend.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Look, the new album, I think the title, like when I look things up, the title of it is Bang. Is that correct?
Yep.
Is
Yep.
Bang. And now
And
is that a natural follow-up to Crash and Boom albums? The Crash and Boom albums, and can you give us a release date? Do we know?
I don't have a release date. We've had it done for a while, and we're waiting for Mike Dresch to do the post on it. Um, he's super busy. Mike is an amazing musician and he's a great engineer. He's in the South Dakota Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we're very honored to have him work on our projects with us. So he's it's in his hands and he's putting it together. And you can't rush perfection. So we'll see. Hopefully this winter we'll have an album.
So we're thinking early 2025. Is that the goal?
That would be my goal. Yes.
Okay. And I talked about, Crash Boom Bang. Was that part of the plan all along, or is there a story to this, or did it just kind of happen?
Well, I don't know that there's really a story, but yes, it was intentional, and it was something that Eldon and Todd dreamt up. They thought that it would be cool, so I just let them.
We need t-shirts that say Crash Boom Bang Blonde Viper, like thing, right? Like
Yep.
that would be kind of cool. It looks like it's got 15 tracks on it. I don't see Represent. Will Represent be a bonus track maybe or anything like that? Or
I think so. I think that is our plan to put it on there. Originally, when we wrote Represent, it was to be a Blonde Viper song. And I still do want to cut just a plain Blonde Viper version of it too. But yeah, it probably will end up on the album in some form.
cool. What could fans expect from this album compared to the others, Terri?
I would like to think that, like most musicians, every time you put something new out, it's always your favorite, you know. But I think that it's totally normal and natural for anybody to grow. Each time that they do something, it gets a little better and better. So I want to think that our music is just as good, if not better. And we picked it up a notch. And I think that our production values, always increase. Our writing always gets better. The vocals always get better. So I think you're just going to see a lot more of the traditional Blonde Viper, but even better.
Right on. Looking forward to that. Will we be able to see it in some live shows and things or?
Gosh, I hope so. We haven't been doing live. We've been mainly a recording band. However, Todd and I do have an acoustic show that we've been working on putting together. We could do it today with backing tracks. We have it ready to go. But we're kind of kicking around. We really would like to be able to do a full band version of Blonde Viper as well. But sadly, Rich and Eldon are very busy and they're in other bands, so they don't have the time to commit. So we are entertaining the thought of getting like a fill-in drummer and guitarist that would do shows with us so that we can do the, full band rock version of Blonde Viper too.
Yeah, that would be fun to watch live and see that come to life if that's a possibility. Let us know, right?
Yeah.
You have a great website, blondeviper.com, but you also have a lot of socials that you guys are engaged on. Do you have a favorite for band engagement with fans and whatnot, or?
We use Facebook is the most common that we use, and it's facebook.com/Blonde Viper. We also have a YouTube page that we have some videos on that are a lot of fun. So you might want to check that out. Just search Blonde Viper in YouTube and you'll find us.
We'll get the links. We'll put the links in the show notes for folks and make it easy for them, right? And then they could
Okay.
just get the link, they could bookmark it, and then they could just revisit you over and over and over and enjoy the videos, right? Look, we're coming up to the end of our chat, and I want to do a rapid fire with you. I haven't done one in a long time, but basically I fire out a couple of different options. You pick one, and then we kind of go from there really quick. Um, if you're not up to it, I get it, but are you up to it or
I think I can do it.
yeah? Okay.
Yeah,
Here, are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. Sunday football or Sunday walk?
Oh, football.
Who's your team?
Vikings.
If you had to go for a
I
walk,
know. I know.
the Vikings. It's okay. It's all right. Minnesota. If you had to go for a walk, where would you go?
Um, Somewhere naturey.
Sirloin burger or prime rib burger
Prime. Definitely.
with ketchup or burger sauce?
Au jus.
Ah, leather pants or ripped jeans on stage?
Ooh, leather and lace.
Shopping or sleeping?
Shopping.
Lots of shopping?
Yes, too much shopping.
Red sports car or rugged 4x4 off-roader?
Ooh, sports car.
Uh, what kind?
I used to have a silver Mustang. That was my car for a lot of years. I even had my kids in there. I like learned how to pack 3 kids and groceries in my Mustang. I was awesome at it.
Talk about skills. Black leggings or cozy socks?
Um, Both, but my wardrobe is mostly black leggings.
Oh, there we go.
What's not leather and lace is black leggings.
That is so rock and roll. All right. Look, thanks for being such a good sport with that, Terri. Just a little bit of fun to end things off. Is there anything else that you would like to leave us with before we let you go?
I guess I should probably mention that Tunnel to Towers Foundation is what we're supporting with our Represent song. So when you buy it, the proceeds go to support that organization, which is it helps provide housing for some of our fallen heroes and their families. So that's probably the most important thing that I should mention is to make sure you support that good cause.
What a wonderful idea and cause, and thank you for helping others. That is Terri Lawrenz, who has opened up the secret box for us so we don't feel so alone or lost in the wilderness. She could be your fire in the sky today or sometimes yesterday, and she'll give you everything as you crash, boom, and bang to the sounds of Blond Viper and bandmates Todd Magnuson, Eldon Fisher, and Rich Dahl, who, if you haven't heard yet, once you do, you'll want to hear them one more time to the point of no return. I'll have Blonde Viper's links in the show notes. Good luck with the new album. Thank you again, Terri. I hope that we get to reconnect.
Thank you. Appreciate it.